Hey everybody, welcome. This is going to be our first and maybe not our last, but definitely our first info session regarding the apprenticeship program and pre-apprenticeship program. So I'll give a few folks some time to jump in and see a few folks already on YouTube. That's awesome. Pull up some slides, run through some slides, and then take questions. So the easiest way to get a question to me is you can throw it in the comments. When you put it in the comments, it will come to me and I'll be able to both read and respond. So anything comes up, any questions, feel free, like I said, drop them in there at any point, and I will get to as many as I can answer in the next, I think we're going to do this for about 30 minutes. This will be recorded. So if you know somebody that you think would be a great fit for this, please feel free to share this so that we can just have as many people as we can potentially take advantage of these opportunities. So that said, I'm going to get some of the stuff cleared off my desktop, open up my slides, and kick this off. Just one sec here. Hope everybody's doing good today. End of the week. Friday feels like the last day of school to me. So it's been a long week, and I'm just excited to kind of share this information before we dip out for the weekend. And I think it's going to be helpful. I think this will be helpful for folks. So I'm going to shift this to presenter mode. I'm going to switch to this layout. Share screen. Share this screen. There we go. That's pretty nice. All right. So I don't know if I can make myself any smaller, but I hope everybody can see and this is like readable for folks. So yeah, let's just kick this off. So that's me. I've been writing software since I was a teenager. So since, I'm not going to say when that was. Well, it doesn't matter. But about 33 years. And so half of that time I did as a hobby. And then the other half I've done this professionally. So I was a principal software engineer, senior software engineer, been doing this for long enough to know this is a great opportunity. The last job I had dogs in the office, catered breakfast and lunch. So 2 meals a day. We had a snack wall, kind of like the one here and behind me here. We had unlimited PTO. We had all sorts of just great benefits. And they took care of us during tax season. They bring in a tax person. We had haircuts and massages and like just all kinds of. And then more importantly, really cool work. We got to work on all sorts of awesome stuff every day. It was like we'd do some firefighting sometimes, and then we get to work on a new novel. We'd get to try out some of our ideas and experiments. So lots of fun stuff. The last 6 years or so I've spent as an educator. So coming from a family of teachers, my mom and dad are teachers. My sister is a teacher, grandparent teacher. So this is my way of sort of like following the family tradition and giving back. And I first worked at Immersive Coding Bootcamp and now have my own programs. I've launched hundreds of careers. I've got folks working at IBM, Red Hat, Apple, Walmart Labs, Sony, HP, just about everywhere you could think would be like a pretty nice giant tech company. I've been able to get folks in there. So that said, it's not really my hard work, it's their hard work. So the first thing I usually impress upon people is if you're willing to take the time to upskill and develop the ability, then there's lots and lots of opportunity for you. So my mission is to really provide an opportunity, not just for San Diego, but now nationally, since we operate beyond just the county of San Diego, to high growth jobs, right? Creating this opportunity for folks that traditionally have lots of barriers and might not be able to make it into an opportunity such as the one I described before. And so to do that, I've kind of established this pipeline where we go out in the community, engage with folks, and do either workshops or some training opportunities to help people discover what it's like to be a software engineer, to be a creator of content and not just a consumer. We've created now, in partnership with the San Diego Workforce Partnership, a path for individuals to go through a pre-apprenticeship program if they're not quite ready for the apprenticeship. And then obviously the apprenticeship is a 12 months, hands-on, 2,000 hours of on-the-job experience that results in person being ready for day one on the job inside of I'd say a pretty good sized enterprise organization. And so part of our job is to make that a reality and reduce the friction and the burden that happens to a lot of folks that go through this path via other ways of skilling, either through community college or 4-year degree or coding boot camp. And they're kind of said, goodbye, good luck. And the job search process can be brutal. So we really wanted to solve for that. We wanted to solve for how do folks maintain themselves while they're upskilling, and how do we reduce the friction to make sure that more people that decide that this is something we want to invest in can actually achieve their dream and end up landing a job. So I'll cover that because I think that's the most important thing first, and sort of lay out the outcomes that we've seen and measured over the last year. So far, everyone's gotten a job. We had one person take a non-coding job. That's unfortunate, but we try our best. We're batting pretty well with that. 12, so all of the rest that were eligible for employment have already been placed into permanent roles. They didn't have to do any job searching, so we took care of all of that for them. They're all happy and successful. Almost half of them actually at one company. And so not just at one time, but like over the course of this year, they've continually come back to us and hired more people from our program. So I think that really establishes that this is a reality. This can be done at a real grassroots community-based organization level. We currently have 16 apprentices, and we're looking to add more apprentices and pre-apprentices to our team. And when I say to our team, we hire them. So they are our employees of the nonprofit that I founded, Creating Coding Careers. We have a Department of Labor Registered Apprenticeship program, and we are the hiring partner that allows us to sort of make sure we can maintain control of the entire quality of the process from end to end. The minimum offer that someone has been made at the end of our program is $60,000 a year. The highest offer, we've received multiple offers at $80,000 a year. So that's kind of the range. And so total, we've served 28 individuals over the past year or so. And we have, like I said, a 92% placement in software engineering roles, with the exception that one person took a paid role somewhere else, not doing software engineering. That's pretty good. 100% of people leave our program with jobs. No one walks away empty-handed. So these are just a few of our partners. People ask about this often. They say, like, what kinds of partners? We have very small partners. We have larger ones. Some big brands that I'm sure you're familiar with. BD stands for Beck & Dickinson. It's a big medical devices organization, a Fortune 500 company. So we have many people that work there. Partnerships with ServiceNow and ServiceNow partner organizations. And a lot of our work is in that space. ServiceNow, Microsoft ecosystem. So these are folks that are doing hands-on engineering and getting a chance to really build that skill set of software engineering. So our program itself, we really have two at this point. So two completely separate programs, and they do not necessarily mean that you have to go through both in order to take advantage of all the opportunities. You may go from one program to the other, but they are kind of run separately. So our apprenticeship program really is designed to increase opportunities for people that have barriers and that may have felt like a career in technology was just never possible. Most of them are diverse. What I would say our criteria of diverse is underrepresented in tech, meaning that they are either out of school youth, they may be Black, Indigenous, they may be Latinx, they could be LGBTQ, could be neurodiverse. So that's what we consider folks that are underrepresented in tech and overrepresented in our population, right? Like all of these people are out there, including women, and not really fairly well represented in tech. In our last batch of apprentices we brought on, 5 apprentices at once, 4 of them were women. So I think we're doing a great job in increasing the number of underrepresented people available in the pipeline. So the other question a lot of people will ask is, where am I in the process? And so the best thing for me to encourage you to understand is that we get lots and lots of applications, and we cannot, just because we don't have capacity to hire more than roughly at any given time about 8% of the people that apply for a program, and it's dwindling. It's actually well under that at this point. But that does mean that we also don't want to eliminate folks. And so it's hard for me to say that's it, you're out. There's a lot of people that are qualified. You're just not high enough up in the order, the pecking order, if you would, for us to be able to be having active conversations about when we'll be able to make you an offer and bring you into the program. So that's why just bear with me, be patient, because there's just a lot of people that apply for these roles. And I'll cover the other question that people will usually ask, which is, well, then what do I need to do to like stand out from the competition? And there's not much. So I'll cover that in just a sec. So the piece I want to talk about is the newer phase, and that is in partnership with San Diego Workforce Partners, we've created this income share agreement, and it's a way for us to add more access with the 0% upfront cost. The students basically repay the cost of this training program once they've landed a full-time job after the end of not just the pre-apprenticeship, but the apprenticeship, and then they get a job making more than $50,000 a year, then they repay, right? And so if you, for whatever reason, didn't land a job, which we've never had happen yet, but if you didn't, then you wouldn't have that obligation to repay the amount that you initially took out with the San Diego Workforce Partnership. So companies can then sort of contribute, and there's a mechanism from which that we can create this renewable fund that as students graduate and get jobs and they're repaying, then that money is sort of paid forward for new students that come in that need that mechanism. And that also allows us to reach a little bit further out and have a little bit of a wider pool of candidates that are preparing for a role, so that when we are looking for apprentices and we have an opportunity to bring them into the apprenticeship program, we have just more folks that we can bring in, because we can kind of shorten the overall runway that it takes to get people ready. So that's the intent and the design behind the program. It's new, it's just launching, and we're just starting to kind of notify people and screen and see if we can find people that are good fits. So let's get into the mechanics of that, so that can answer some of those questions that I'm sure people have. The pre-apprenticeship is an unpaid opportunity. So that's the first big significant difference. It's also much shorter. So it's a 12-week program, and it's designed to basically prepare someone for the apprenticeship program. So if you complete the pre-apprenticeship program, you are guaranteed, so you get priority acceptance into the apprenticeship program. You're guaranteed into the apprenticeship program if you go through the pre-apprenticeship. It's a 9 to 5, so it's a full-time thing, Monday through Thursday. So Fridays are off. So if you had to, you could potentially work a part-time job Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the rest of the time you could really be investing in, getting yourself to that point where you're ready for the apprenticeship program. 100% remote. So although we do have classrooms, we'll provide an opportunity for people to come in and can work in the classroom space. So if you find that's a better learning environment for you, depending on COVID, assuming that we still have safe COVID protocols, the classrooms are currently open. We have a classroom in Southeast San Diego. We have a classroom in Escondido, and they are available. However, you can participate from anywhere in California for the pre-apprenticeship program. You can, the course covers the fundamentals of front-end web development, so HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, and that kind of gives you a good solid foundation. We also teach some 21st century skills. So some of the other pieces that folks are asking for as employers, they're asking for, people that can communicate well, people that can collaborate, problem solve. So we're kind of baking all that into that 12-week program. In order to be eligible, you must live in California, and you must be eligible for WIOA benefits. So that's a more difficult one for me to describe. So what I'll say is, if you have not yet found out if you're qualified and you're interested, then just apply, and then we'll go through the process of working with workforce partners, determining your eligibility, and making sure that if it's a good fit, that we can create an opportunity for you. We won't be able to do it for everybody, but if we can, we'd like to have as many people as we can come through the pre-apprenticeship route if it's a good fit. So it's a great fit, and this is one of the reasons why we ask during the screening process, are you working? Because if you're working, this might not be the best fit. The next program may. So the next program is a paid opportunity. So that's why I say if you're working, it might be kind of hard for you to sustain yourself if you need to quit your current job to reskill and train for another one. So if you're working, the apprenticeship might be the better path for you. And so the apprenticeship is a 12-month paid opportunity. We pay a minimum of $18. Depending on your experience, you may be rated as high as $20 when you come in. It is entirely based on how much prior experience that you have. So we have really determined that it makes sense to offer, a little bit more to someone to help them make the transition if they're I'm making $30 an hour, but I really want to transition and I have a little bit of coding experience, but I'm really struggling. So we're trying to be flexible and work with folks. So that said, It is a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, 40-hour-a-week job. It's a full-time job. And initially, is the first part of the 12 months is training. You'll be going through full stack curriculum. So not just front end, but front end, back end, databases, continuous delivery, testing software. And at that point, once you're done with those like fundamentals, we'll put you through specialized training. So that's where you get industry certifications. So you could be certified for the ServiceNow platform. You could be certified for the Microsoft platform, and then provide you on-the-job experience. So be placed embedded with a team and be working right alongside other software engineers, and then still getting the support from our team. We match all of our apprentices up with 3 professional mentors, and you'll meet with each one of them for at least an hour per month. So it's basically 3 hours of mentorship while you're on the job. So this is paid time that you're getting to develop your professional skills, create relationships with industry folks, etc. So to be eligible for it, and this one, you don't have to be eligible. You just have to be eligible to work here in the United States, and it's anywhere in the country. You also have to have a GED or a high school diploma. So this is a good option for someone that's unemployed or employed. And if you're out of California, this is one that is the only option that's available for you at the moment. And then we really have 2 software engineering categories. One is software developer, and the other is QA automation engineers. So that said, I'm going to walk through the next steps in the process and then answer questions. So if you've got questions, I would start typing them out in the comments, and I'd be more than happy to go through as many questions as I can, answer, and provide, additional context and details, any questions that people have. So if you are interested, if this sounds like, hey, this is your jam, and this is like you're serious about this, then I would suggest the next thing you do is apply. To apply for it, you'll go to our website, you'll click on that link where it says apply, and scroll down to the bottom of the page. And if you have not yet logged in, it will tell you need to register and log in. So click on the button, register and log in to the website. That might mean that you have to, check your email, approve your account, log in, then go back to that link, click on the apply button again. Now, if you scroll down, you should see the form. Complete the entire form. Really important. I know some folks are like, you're doing the whole spray and pray, you're just applying everywhere. This is one where you want to take the time, because this is a very competitive opportunity. There's lots of people that are applying for these opportunities. So finish the whole application. And that does mean that you'll need to be prepared to submit a cover letter and a resume. We'll ask for a link to, if you have a GitHub, if you have a LinkedIn profile. We really want to get a good sense of who you are as an individual, and it's not skills-based. So we're not looking to see like you have X amount of experience. We're really holistically looking to see, are you someone that pays attention to detail? Do you have, some work experience? And if not some work experience, what else is a compelling reason why you would be well positioned to take advantage of this opportunity? And so, we take into consideration someone that has overcome barriers and challenges. Someone that works at a coffee shop, is never coded, has just as much of a chance of getting into our program as someone that has gone through immersive coding bootcamp and is struggling to find the first job. Because neither one of those describe the actual attributes that we look for when we interview the candidate, which is much more of the soft skills. What are the things that can help us, the signals that can help us determine this person is going to be able to do this? We can teach them the technical parts, but I can't teach someone to show up on time. I can't teach someone to be gritty, to be really resourceful and diligent. We can try and enhance those attributes, but if you don't have them, I can't create the timeliness, right? That kind of thing. So the first step is apply. Make sure you go through the process and actually submit a full application. Then starting not next week, but the following week, we're going to open up a portal, and it'll have some free training resources. It'll have things like resume workshops, right? Because I know people submit resumes to us, and I understand they may need a little brushing up. So do your best to submit a resume, but we want to make sure that we can help even the people that can't get into our program with some of the basic things to help you create an opportunity, even if we can't help. So we'll have some fundamentals about like how the internet works, and like really for someone that has really very little experience, things that will help better prepare you for the the digital future and the future of work. So the free training coming soon. We're still working on polishing the portal and getting everything up there and loaded on our new portal. The next stage of the process is you may be selected for an interview. So if we feel like it's worth having a conversation, we will reach out to you, and we will either invite you to set up a time to interview with us, or we have an online tool and you can use the tool to record your answers to questions. And so you can kind of do it at a more flexible pace. Or if you say, hey, I'd rather interview in person, then you can give us a time, day. We'll try to negotiate a time where we can have you do a more traditional Zoom interview. So they're all being conducted remote, whether you record it or you do it via Zoom. And there's no advantage or disadvantage. It's just really just a scheduling and preference issue for candidates. Once you've passed the interview phase, if we believe that you're going to be a strong candidate, then we'll offer you either enrollment into the Workforce Partners Pre-Apprenticeship program, and then you'll be back to us for training, or job offer. So you get a written offer letter that states, like, this would be your start date, this is the amount. And then once you're done with the programs, then we would facilitate career placement. We never force anybody to take a job. Can't do that. This is not indentured servitude. So we'll create opportunities, put you in front of potential employers, and we try to make that process super seamless. In most cases, it goes something like this. The apprentice has been on a project for a while. The project manager or hiring manager will contact me and say, hey, we're interested in making an offer to X person. And I'll say, hey, great, thanks for letting me know. Feel free to reach out to them and make the offer. And then we'll take it from there. We'll coordinate a time for them to transition. So that's kind of from your perspective. It's like one day you'll be working on a project and the next day someone will give you an offer letter. We've tried to make it just that easy for the apprentices, so you can really just focus on learning, getting paid, and then getting the job and doing well. And we'll take care of like all of the other details. So that said, those are the things that come up the most often, the things I get the most number of questions. And I'd love to answer any additional questions. And if there's anybody else that has any other questions about anything that I forgot to cover or I missed, feel free to drop them as comments. So I already saw the first one. So Roberto has asked, if one does not qualify for WIOA, does one's offer get revoked, or does it go through the apprenticeship route, or does it vary person to person? We haven't done this yet. So I'd say the short answer is we would certainly have a conversation and certainly see, but there's usually a reason why we've said, hey, we think the pre-apprenticeship is a better route. So here's an example. Someone may come to us and they may say, well, I'm unemployed, and they may not show as strong of an aptitude, so they're not a top pick for the apprenticeship. So then I might say, hey, if you go through the pre-apprenticeship, if you qualify, like, let's evaluate you for that program, because that way, if you finish that, we automatically will bring you in and like you're good to go. On the other hand, you may have to wait for an opportunity to come directly into the apprenticeship, because we may be kind of like at capacity. Right now, we're looking at between 2 and maybe as many as 6. It depends on client demand to come directly into the apprenticeship right now. And we could go as high as 8 into the pre-apprenticeship. So it's just really a volume game. And so each one is evaluated independently, which leads me to another question that people often ask, which is if a candidate goes through the application process, one of the phases are we ask you to take an assessment. It's actually multiple assessments. Those assessments are not a determining factor in whether or not you're selected. So these happen before you actually get an offer, if that makes sense. So we'll be able to tell you what you're eligible for before we actually make an offer. There would never be a stage at which like we'd make you an offer and then revoke the offer. The only time we'd have a situation like that occurred would be if we made you an offer and then determined you're not eligible to work in the United States. That hasn't happened yet, but that's really one of the things that I could foresee might happen. And that's on the candidate. If the candidate lies to us and says they're eligible to work, and we ask for proof of that eligibility to work, usually during the onboarding process, then at that point, if they can't show that, we can't hire them. Like that's a no-no here in the US. So hopefully that answers that question. Let me know, Roberto, if that does not. This is a long one, so this is going to take a little bit. You mentioned your pre-apprenticeship program guarantees acceptance in the apprenticeship. I completed a different 12-week engineering program, pre-apprenticeship IBM. Chances of being accepted. Okay, so it's independent of that, so it doesn't really help you or hurt you, would be the short answer to that question. Is there a way to further discuss personal attributes, obstacles? Not really. So, I mean, as you can imagine, we get hundreds of applications. The best way for you to ensure that we kind of understand your full story is your cover letter. So if there's extenuating circumstances, something that you can like create a compelling reason why we should like take something in consideration outside of your resume, put it on your cover letter, right? That's kind of your chance to say, hey, you should interview me. We just can't interview everybody. So, and we can't, I generally speaking, don't like when someone calls, I just tell them, go to the frequently asked questions page on the website. And I'm sorry, I apologize, but I want you to understand the greater good, which is my time as the CEO of this organization has to be spent creating the opportunities with organizations to do this work, because we got to get companies to commit to hiring before we can open up seats. And so if you're calling asking me a question about something that's on the website, you're potentially like in your own way, right? Because it's probably a question you could just shoot me an email about, or it's a situation where if we're like in your isolated case trying to advocate for yourself, you could be taking away the opportunity for me to like create a new deal with a new organization and open up 5 or 6 seats for a apprenticeship. Cameron, there's a number of apprentices out there who have done multiple programs. Yeah, that doesn't hurt you. So it doesn't hurt. It also doesn't bring you up to the top of the pack. It's like it's not the most relevant piece for us. So for us, it's really not about your experience. It's more about, can we identify candidates that are going to really, we believe are going to be successful, and the signals that we're looking for are like, attention to detail. Do they complete the application? Right? And so those things will actually stand out more than your prior experience. All right, that said, Robert has another question. Is there a starting date for this batch of pre-apprenticeship candidates? Each candidate start at different dates. We are trying to batch them up. So we are actively interviewing candidates now. We don't have a green light date. We actually move really fast once we identify candidates. So that's one of the reasons why we're doing this, is to make sure that people can kind of understand more, and they understand the urgency of like, okay, you have all of the information. If you are interested, please apply, because we actively need to fill these roles, and I want to try and ensure that we have the best possible pool of candidates so that we can, because the idea, we're still early, right? So this is our first year of operation. And what we want to do that's a little bit unique in the marketplace is we want to continue to consistently have the numbers that I talked about at the very beginning, which is 100% placement. And so that's the key, is if we feel like we're going to bring someone in and they're not going to benefit, they don't have the ability to benefit from our program, we can't help them across the finish line, then that's going to be a signal to us that this isn't the right fit. And there could be other ways that we can help out. Like every Tuesday, I do looking for work. And it could, excuse me, it could just mean, hey, you could actually get more than what we can afford to pay you. And like, if you just do this, this, and this, you could get a full-time permanent offer at $60,000 to $80,000 without us having to intervene and be involved. Here's what I'd recommend. Do this, 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 and this. So in general, we could have candidates that could start slightly askew, like one could start this week and the next could start the next week, but we're kind of trying to create a batch at this point, and that's how it usually goes. We'll usually bring on 2 or more at a time, and in this case, we're going to bring in a whole cohort, so we will probably screen and have a cohort for the pre-apprenticeship within the next week. So it'll come together really quickly. Which is the other thing, like if you get an interview, like try and at least get your interview taken care of as quickly as possible, because you could miss a start, and it could take a while, since this is a 12-month program, could take a while for another opportunity to open up. But we're not going to do like every spring, every winter, a batch. We're going to consistently continue to do what we've been doing, which is rolling cohorts, so that they come in waves, sort of one after another. That also means that folks graduate in waves. And it makes it much easier for us to meet the demand in the marketplace of employers who right now are ready and willing to hire earlier career developers, but they are looking for the skills that you pick up in this program. Cover letter. Okay, make sure you include it with your application. That way it's not like loosey on its own. If you need to, also you can reapply if you feel like you just did a terrible job and you applied and you never heard back. you can definitely reapply, but you don't have to reapply. If you've applied, you're in the system. It's just if you didn't complete all the information or you didn't include a cover letter before, you can definitely reapply, include your cover letter, and that way we'll have that information. So that would be the best way to get it to us, would be to complete the whole application, attach your cover letter, attach your, when I say a whole, it should only take you like 10 minutes to fill out the form. Just make sure you attach your resume, attach your cover letter, and you're good to go. You don't get lost in the system because you send me one piece and then everything else is somewhere else. What else? Any other questions? These are great questions, by the way. Super useful. If there are no other questions, I'll give it just a few seconds because I know there's a delay with the internet. If there are no additional questions, then what I would suggest is take a look. There's more information on the website at Creating Coding Careers, so cccareers.org/FAQ. There's a link to the FAQ at the bottom. All the links are in the footer. So there's a link at the bottom to the FAQ if there's still some outstanding things, or if you just want to peruse things that I might have covered but are pretty common. And then I encourage you to apply. Like, nearly everybody qualifies for this, right? If you're within the sound of my voice, you probably can work in the United States. You probably have a high school diploma or GED, and that means that you could get into the apprenticeship program. And for those we're maxed out, we've gotten to those people, but now we're at the point where like they're not ready for the apprenticeship. Then we shift and we look for people that could be good fits for the pre-apprenticeship program. And in that case, it just kind of so happens that the state is leveraging grant funds, and so the state has more stringent requirements, and it's also in partnership with the workforce board. So it's one of those like just additional mechanisms that will allow us to bring more people into the program. So it in no way affects the fact that we are still going to have consistent openings in the apprenticeship program. And yeah, I already applied, recorded interview, reapply, redo the, yeah, I would just submit another application. Just make sure you include your, we won't invite you again. We'll know that you've already done the interview, but we'll have your letter attached to a full application. That would be most helpful. At this point, though, it doesn't really change anything if you've already interviewed. So if you've already interviewed, you actually, so strike that. You don't need to reapply. If you've already interviewed, like, that's your shot. That's your interview. So whatever you said on your interview, that's all that's going to really determine your fate at this point. I have not reviewed the interviews from earlier this week. So that's my homework for this weekend. Any other questions? All right. Next time I'll be doing one of these like public appearances is next week. I do looking for work every Tuesday. So if you're looking for work, Tuesday, I do it across LinkedIn and YouTube, and I answer questions just like I'm doing here, but they're very specific about the steps that it takes for you to, once you've gotten some initial training, to move forward. And part of the way that we're going to leverage our free training portal is to point people to some of these resources that you can leverage that might not require you to go through an immersive coding boot camp or, a degree program or community college. There are many, many other alternative routes that you can use to skill yourself. I'm just trying to create like efficient and faster ways for folks. So there's nothing, I don't have anything against any of those programs. I just feel like we can create some ways that can really, really address this concern quickly and more efficiently. But I know for sure we can't possibly help as many people that are out in the ecosystem that want this opportunity. So best we can do is provide like, here's the DIY version of kind of what we do. So I'm happy to share. All right. Unless there's any other questions, I will hang out for like a minute and then I'll close this out. This video will instantly be available on YouTube. So if you know anybody else that you think would be, hey, this would be a great next step for them, share it, please. Love to have more people. That's kind of the point of this. Awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody.